In this video, we're going to talk about how to buy and develop land and how I got 2 pieces of property for less than $3,000. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Rinde from AskRinde, and welcome to the #1 community for real estate income and credit. So if you'd like to know how to buy and develop land and the 4 keys to use to be able to get properties for less than $3,000 and no money down, make sure you watch the video to the end and leave a comment below if you need help with anything. Buy land because they're not making any more of it, and that saying is so true. All real estate starts with land, from the single family to the skyscraper. In fact, the very foundation of real estate is land. So becoming a homeowner, becoming a landlord, becoming an investor, becoming a realtor, becoming an entrepreneur, and even becoming a developer, it all starts with land. So developing land can mean that you're going to develop property on it, or it can mean that you're going to develop the land for cash flow and ways to monetize it. Most times we buy property after it's developed on, but there are ways to be able to buy, make money with land and rent on real estate before it's developed on. So this is my story. I got 2 properties for less than $3,000 and key tips you'll need to be able to buy and develop land. Key number 1, how to find owner finance houses and land. So in order to buy and develop land, you're going to need to know how to find owner finance or seller finance properties. Now, I actually happened to stumble upon this one day. In my real estate business here in New Jersey, we prospect on a daily basis. So a few years ago, we were making cold calls, and I actually spoke to a lady who actually owned a property that was currently facing a foreclosure and also a tax lien. So when I spoke to her, she actually expressed that she would be interested in doing something regarding the property. She asked if we could meet. So we met at my Montclair office and we started to speak about her situation. And when we started to talk, she shared with me that she not only just had that one property, but she also had another property. And when I checked as we were talking, I found out that the one property that I had called her on was in her name, but she had another property that was in an LLC's name that she also was a 50% owner in. So basically, she decided to tell me that she was facing a tax lien situation and that she really wanted out. Now, the key thing to note here is that when I got to our meeting, I did not know that her properties were land. I thought that they were actual properties with real estate on it. But when she explained everything to me and the circumstance that got her to where she was, I took the opportunity and I saw the opportunity in that moment to be able to get valuable piece of properties. These are not properties that are in rural areas. These are actually inner city properties, key lots. They're in strategic areas that actually have a lot of value. In fact, each lot was worth over $60,000. But her motivation was that she did not know how to deal with the liens and she did not know what to do with the property, and it became a win-win for the both of us. So based on our conversation, I was able to craft a win-win that would benefit both her and us, and I was able to get those 2 properties for less than $3,000. So knowing how to find owner finance, seller finance land can be very key because it can position you to do many things with the land. If you want to develop a homestead, or if you just want to actually have no mortgage, debt-free real estate. It's very important, especially if you know what to do with the real estate. There are many ways you can go with it. As in our case, we got the properties, and I got the properties specifically for monetization. But I'm in a position where I can also sell that land for a 6-figure payday. So it's very key to be able to know how to find seller financing, owner finance, land and properties. Number 2, and the second key to be able to buy and develop land would be to how to negotiate. So this is very important. As I shared before, I actually stumbled upon this, and I was able to negotiate and come to terms with her in that meeting to be able to acquire the property and have a win-win solution for the both of us. Many times when you're falling into a situation where you're looking for property and you're sourcing these properties for seller finance land, after you've seen the land or you tour the property, whether it's the land for sale by owner or some other property owner, the next step is going to be negotiation, coming to terms that's going to get you guys to a closing table. Now with negotiation, there are 6 tips I'd like to share with you that'll be useful in your negotiation to be able to buy the land. Number 1 will be purpose. What is your intention for buying the property? That's very key because, as I've shared earlier, there are different ways to develop property. You can develop property to be able to put real estate on it, or you can develop property to be able to monetize it and cash flow in various different ways. So having your intention in mind and knowing what your purpose is for the real estate will actually be the first thing that you need to know, because when you move into the negotiation, it's going to factor into everything else. Tip number 2 will be price. So the seller may be asking for a certain price, and based on your intention for the property, you can either actually pay that price or you can negotiate that price with them for what will be doable for you and your budget. Tip number 3 would be interest rate. So it's important to understand that this is seller financing. So the terms are a little bit different. There's no institutional loan here. So generally with seller financing, you can expect most seller financing rates to turn out and start out of between 8 to 10% in that range. You can expect that seller financing and interest rate will be a little bit higher than what you would get from an institutional outfit, giving you money to be able to buy that property. And the fourth negotiation tip, which is very key, is going to be zoning. You need to find out what the zoning is on that property and basically make sure that it fits what your purpose is and what your intent to use the property is for. Tip number 5 for negotiation, this is one of my preferences, is that you actually go for a property that's on a level lot. You want property and land that's as level as possible. I personally don't like a lot of hilly property because there's issues that come up. We recently had a property where there was a grading issue. The property was on a little bit of a slope and there was an issue with water going into the basement. And so because the property is sloped a little bit, anytime it rained, the water would rush through the storm door and it just created a big problem. So there was issues, the entire basement had to be gutted, and these things can happen when you actually have property that's not level. So I actually like level lots. If you can get your land on a level surface, as level as possible, that would be the best preference to avoid issues in the future. And the 6th tip that I want to share with you for negotiation is to make sure that the property is in a flood zone. You want to make sure that you avoid getting land in flood zones because you're going to be required to get either 100-year, 500-year insurance, and on. It's going to be a problem, and worst of all, it'll be harder for you to actually offload the property. Should in case in the future you want to sell it, you'll have a harder time and a longer process selling that property, and for premium, more money if the property is in a flood zone. So try to avoid property that has flood issues. Now it's important to understand that you get what you negotiate. The best deals are the best negotiated deals. But before you finalize your deal, make sure you run title. Get a title company to be able to pull title on the property and get all liens and encumbrances on the property before you finalize your deal with that seller. You want to make sure that you actually know everything that's attached to the property and get clear title. Do not close on the property without actually having clear title to the property, because that can cause you an issue in the future. Number 3, how to monetize land. There are multiple ways to be able to make money monthly from land. Everything from rent to own to actually selling land. In fact, we've actually developed over 30 ways to be able to monetize land on a monthly basis. And I share a few of these in our rent to own masterclass, which you can join by just going to my website, AskRinde.com, clicking on rent to own, and getting started today. So one of the key ways of the over 30 that we've developed to be able to monetize our land is glamping. So there's a website called glamping.com, and it's actually like a high-end Airbnb for land. So there are many landowners and many property owners that use this website to be able to monetize their land, including us. So glamping is a combination of glamour and camping, and they cater to the individuals who want to be able to experience the outdoors, but not compromise their luxury. And it's actually a huge multi-million-dollar industry because it involves not only just the land, but it involves a luxury experience, which includes giving people the luxury experience of having tents, such as teepees, airstreams, huts, unique tents, A-frame properties, domes, etc. So you can monetize your land by buying one of the airstreams, the teepees, the huts, or the A-frames and putting it on your land. Or you can rent to own it, or you can rent it out to someone who's going to put those structures on the property and make money from that. And the 4th key is how to manage your land. So land management will be key when you're looking to buy and develop land, primarily for 2 reasons. Number 1 would be zoning compliance. You want to make sure that what's being done on the land is in compliance with the current zoning. You don't want to basically put yourself in a position where things are being done that are outside of it. It's going to cause you issues. And the second obvious reasons would be to be able to avoid fines. There are many times that landowners have run into problems because things have been dumped on the property, especially if you're not managing the property. You don't have a way to be able to keep tabs on what's happening on the property. You want to make sure that things are not being done illegally, illegal dumping is not being done, and also other things such as keeping the grass cut and making sure that the property will not position you to be able to receive fines. So this is a very important point, that if you can nail this down, you can also monetize it by managing land for other landowners that are nearby in the area. You can charge them a fee, so as your group and your crew manages your land, you can also take care of their land. And if they're an absentee owner or out-of-state owner, they'll happily pay you, and that's another way to monetize. So I'd actually like to share much more with you on how to buy and develop land, how to rent to own land. over 30 ways to be able to monetize your land. And I actually shared this and much more in our Rent to Own Masterclass. You can actually join me in the Masterclass by simply going to my website, AskRinde.com, clicking on Rent to Own, and getting started today. I show you the contracts that I use to be able to buy these 2 properties for less than $3,000. I show you my negotiation tips and tactics that we use to be able to spot opportunity and then engage the seller to be able to use seller financing strategically for a win-win every single time. And most importantly, we show you over 30 ways to be able to monetize your land. Buying and monetizing land and knowing how to rent to own space on land can be very key. So I look forward to actually seeing you inside the masterclass. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email address is askrindenetwork@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment in the comment section below. I do check comments periodically and do respond. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.